Hey everybody, welcome back. This is Barbecue Roundtable. I'm your host Jason Hardy with EliteBBQ Smokers, and today I got some really special guests. We have a great show. So ask your questions, let us know what you think, and let's get started. How y'all doing tonight?
Doing good, doing real good.
Are you? I'm glad to hear it, man. Very blessed. So before we get started, anything else? How about y'all introduce yourselves?
I'm Nick Holman with Burnt Trees BBQ.
I am Nick's wife, Shannon, of course, also his teammate and wife. We do this hobby together.
Is it a hobby or an addiction?
Yes,
Yeah.
to both of us.
I tell you, man. People keep asking, like, why do we do competition barbecue? Why do we do this? I'm like, you just got to do it, man. You get that first call, and it goes from being a hobby to an addiction. And then when you're sitting at home, you ain't competing, you're watching on Facebook Live, all your friends competing, you're like, dang it, why ain't I competing this weekend?
Mhm.
Yes, sir. That's absolutely it. We love it, and we're both pretty competitive, really competitive actually. And this barbecue deal it fills that niche for us.
So me and my wife are a husband team ourselves. And she tells me her clock in time's at 9 o'clock. Now we do kind of a hot and fast, so it's really fine. But how do y'all do y'all's clock in time? Are you both up at the same time, or is it kind of like first shift, second shift, or how y'all do it?
No, I get up. I get up fairly early to light the fire. We cook on an offset. We cook on an Outlaw 2860. So I get up and light the fire, get brisket on, get pork butts on, and I guess we're cooking smaller pork these days, so those don't go on quite as early as they used to. But Shannon, probably what you're about 6:30,
Yeah, I'm about 6,
7 o'clock.
6:30 when things start to get going, if you will. I prefer to go to sleep, so I go to sleep early and I sleep in a little bit compared to him. And I get up about the time we are starting to think about, is it time to start wrapping our big meats? Sometimes it's right away, depending on where you're at elevation wise and how the cook is going. But most of the time I'm sleeping in till 6:30. I am not a morning person. I'm not getting up at 4. I'm not that dedicated yet.
Yeah, we done a contest a long time ago, and I was sick. And I told Michelle, I said she's gonna have to get up and put the meat on and wrap it. And she looked at me and said, "Well, I reckon we're gonna go home then."
Nick has told me more than once to pay attention, because if anything was to happen to him, he's like, you have to finish the cook. He's like, it doesn't matter if I'm going in an ambulance to the hospital. You have to finish the
Well, I
cook. We
told her
started it.
she's not a doctor. I mean, she ain't gonna help me, so she might as well
Yeah.
finish the cook. We paid to be there, so.
Yeah, sounds good. You say it really fast. I promise you it does. But I think that's one of the beauties of the husband wife teams is kind of just that reliability, the banter back and forth. It's truly it's amazing to be part of. Me and my wife. It's amazing. I know she don't go sometimes. I do it by myself. It's not the same. I mean, it's you're losing a part of the team. You're losing somebody that can you rely on, that knows what you're doing, that you can trust what they're going to say as far as taste is on the same profile. So it's really a big benefit to having that type of team that can do that all the time. But husband wife teams, man, yeah, we can fight like there's nobody's business tomorrow and still smile and be happy 20 minutes later. It's crazy.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I'd be lost without her. I don't, a long time ago, I could probably cook comps by myself and whatnot, and did some of them that way, but not anymore. There's no way. She's got it all organized and lined up, and this rub, and now that one, and you know, it, she she's the organizer. I'm just the guy that lights fire and burns some meat. She,
Yeah, I'm just paid help
yep, yes, sir. Drive the truck.
or the free help, I should say.
Yeah.
So kind of let's get to the backstory here. So Shannon, I'll start with you here.
Yeah.
From the barbecue side of it, where did you kind of get the bug or the desire to try the outdoor competition barbecue from?
Yeah, I guess I started a little bit later than Nick. So my husband, of course, and my dad first started with like a local rib burn. Neither one of them have really ever cooked or smoked a rack of ribs in their life. But they went to a local town nearby here, and we knew the organizer. So they said, "Hey, why don't you sign up?" I hit the jackpot when Nick and I got married. He's a fantastic cook in real life, not just barbecue. And people know that. So they invited them to come cook their first few racks of ribs, and it was truly just a rib. The meat was provided. They rolled up on just a small little utility trailer, if you will, with some.
Oh no, that was back on the pickup, the first one.
Oh, backhoe pickup. See, same thing. With some pellet grills, and they did pretty good. They actually ended up third. And so then they signed up for the next one. And then I think they came in maybe second or even first. And then after that, it was just, all right, what's the next one? What's the next one? Because they kind of started to kick or catch on that, well, maybe I really do know what I'm doing here. And the rest is history. You know, we signed up after a few years. He started really in 2014 in those local contests. It was about 2018 when we really started going into the KCBS circuit. And hook, line, and sinker, I started joining mainly because I have a little bit of OCD tendencies, and what I could see is chaos, like dirty dishes everywhere, stuff kind of thrown all over. And I had to step in and say, all right, I need to help you organize your life. And then we started doing really well in that. And I would say I'm just as invested as he is, and I still keep him very well organized. I've got OneNote tabs of every contest, of what we did in that contest, and it's more just to make sure that we recognize where maybe we had a fault or an error, and like, hey, let's not try that again. It didn't work so well, and sharing ideas with each other. So that's where it kind of started, is backyard, and then it trickled on from there. And backyard was some of the most fun contests that we've ever done. And we still get people locally come and asking us to help them set up their contests or give them pointers on, hey, I'm going to run a 4-meat cook. What do you think? What are the pros and the cons, or ideas? And we really love to help invest in those backyard cooks, because that's where it starts, and making sure that they get involved one way or the other. And we have no secrets. So if you want to ask us a question, we're going to share it with you. There's no secrets in barbecue. I mean, if you wanted to ask me a question, I'd probably tell you right here live, for everybody watching. But we got to help each other, right? You know, the end goal is to make sure that we're supporting and growing the sport. And the only way to do that is to share and to coach. So.
Hey, y'all heard right there. You got questions, better ask them tonight.
That's right.
So Nick, kind of, she said that you were a cook and kind of good cook at home and stuff like that. But where did the passion and the desire to cook at home where you grew up, how did you kind of get the passion for cooking?
I don't know, like from my mom, I guess. Even when I was a little kid, I was always in the kitchen. I like to cook. Um, learned how to cook a lot of stuff from my mom. I didn't learn how to season anything from her. She was salt and pepper was about it with my mom. But the older I got, the more flavor I like to put on stuff. But it was always a good way to get people together, make new friends. I can remember being in college, and I lived in a house with a bunch of guys, and we would cook, and we didn't have a lot of money or anything, but we we'd have a party, and I would cook, and the way to be the cool guy was to be the good cook, and make friends through good food. Um, as far as cooking barbecue goes, My sister bought me my first smoker for, I think, maybe my 21st birthday. And we're talking El Cheapo Brinkman smoker, not even a charcoal smoker, but an electric one. Had the electric element in the bottom,
Oh yeah.
and it was a smoker, and of course we'd wet down the wood chips, and we thought we knew what we were doing, and all that. The wider the smoke, the better it was doing, and and had no clue. But we put pork butts on and cook them that way, and people liked it. And was it good barbecue? No, it wasn't good, but free food is good food a lot of times. So, uh, and we did that, and that's how we got invited to the first contest that we ever did. Was because I'd cook pork butts at the lake. We put pork butts on in the morning. We'd go fishing all day. We'd come back, they'd be done. And first contest that I ever went to, that guy used to hang out at the lake with us. And he thought I was a good cook, and he said, "Hey, you're cooking this deal." Like Shannon said, we went, my father-in-law and I, Chuck, we went and did that contest. We got third place. It was like 9 teams. I mean, it was small. And
Yeah.
but we got third place, and we made new friends, and we met some people that live just about 20 miles away from us. Marty and Tanya Owens with Owens Barbecue, and I'd say almost immediately we developed a very friendly rivalry with them, and we've been great friends for 10 years, and it's always been about barbecue between us and the Owens. And we cooked a lot of little contests against each other, and that was kind of a real big driving motivating factor was outcook your friends, make good food for everybody, but and get out there and outcook your friends.
Well, one of my friends that cook barbecue is closest one to me is Jason Singletary at Smoke Central, but he's dangerous. I might be on the other side of that, beat your friends, but he's a good guy. We're friends. We do a lot of stuff together and have a class here at the house for backyard things here in May the 4th. So totally know that. And back to the story about college. I mean, I think one of the stories I remember about cooking for a crowd is I was at the house and cooking spaghetti, because here in the South, there's two things to cook cheap. Cook spaghetti. It costs you $10. You can feed an army, and it's a chicken bog. Chicken bog, y'all might know, as a perlo. Basically, it's boiled chicken, throw rice and sausage into it with some onions, and you make a big pot of chicken bog. And then $10, you can feed an army. So that's kind of what we were doing back in college, because peanut butter and jellies get old. So we're trying to save money. So we all throw money in the pot. We go to the store and cook a chicken bog, a lasagna, or spaghetti and stuff like that. And that's kind of where I really felt like that. Okay, I really enjoy cooking. I done hunting club, but the hunting club was all novelty type stuff. Wild game you don't do it so much of. But when we're actually feeding people going to college, that's when you're like, all right, this is a lot of fun. And then it kind of went from there to what we do today. So did you know that first trophy was going to be this addictive? Have you
No,
done that?
no way, no way. In fact, when we did that first contest, I fought the guy so hard on not wanting to do it. He's like, "You're coming. It's only $100. You're entering." And I told him, "No, no, no. I don't want anything to do with it. I'd never cooked a rack of ribs in my life, and I had no clue. Watching YouTube videos on how to cook ribs on pellet smoker, and I didn't want anything to do with it. And then we did it because we were friends with them, and just instantly it was okay. Go buy another wood, like, because with this deal, it was ribs provided. Okay, so we had a Traeger Texas Elite pellet smoker, which was the good sized one, um, back in the day, and it's small now compared to what they got now, but it was a good sized one. But we could only cook like 4 racks of ribs. Well, first thing we did was like, how can we cook more ribs? Well, we went and bought rib racks, to stand them up on edge, and so we could get more on there. And then we could cook 10 racks. Well, at the next, and these contests were not just about turning into the judge, but it was also about feeding the public. It was fundraiser type stuff. So the more you could cook, the better, the more the organizer would like it. And that was all these little contests, bar contests. The local co-op would have one. Different, city organizations having contests, raising money for their park equipment or whatever it was, and they'd want you to cook as much as you could. So we added another smoke, and then we added another one, and then we added another one. And at one point, we had 4 pellet smokers, and we'd run these rib racks, and we'd get, we were running 3 rib racks on every pellet smoker, and so you're 15 racks on 4 of them. We're cooking 60 racks of ribs at these contests. And I'm recruiting my friends and guys from work, and I'm like, hey, we're going to go cook this comp. I need your help, because we figured out right away that if you're going to cook 60 racks of ribs, you can't hardly do it with 2 guys. I mean, it'll wear you out peeling membranes, because they bring you cases of ribs and be like, here's your 60 racks, and you'd spend at the contest, spend 2 hours just peeling membranes off the back of these ribs. So I would recruit a bunch of my friends, and at one point, Burnt Trees BBQ was, I don't know, Shen, how many people do we have? 6, 7, 8 people, something like
Probably.
that. A whole bunch of
Yeah.
people. But we would win, and we would win the People's Choice portion of it, or we'd win the judges portion of it. Get your ribbon, get your little bowling trophy, whatever. And man, it was so addictive, because I love to win. Really, I mean, yes, barbecue is about cooking good food. It's about hanging out with friends. But I want to win. I really do, and I'm not scared to say it. Like if I go to a comp, I'm not going there just to hang out. I'm going there to win, and I'll hang out a little bit before and a little bit after. But I'm looking for a trophy too. So.
That's a very good point on that, as far as we want to win, but at the same time, we support our friends that beat us. But very supportive of that. But one thing that's kind of, let me see, how can I say this here? A fourth place trophy at or third place trophy in a rib contest or chicken, brisket, pork, whatever it is. It is when you got somebody that's not in competition barbecue and they see that third place trophy, they're like, okay, congratulations, you didn't win. But with us doing this every weekend, a third place trophy, like, man, especially for like pork lately, I've been just freaking struggling with it. And I'm like, I get a third place right now in pork. I feel like I've touched the dang moon right now.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's just that even that trophy is not a winning trophy, but even if you kind of get your name called, you get out your seat and walk, you feel like, okay, we're in the hunt. We've accomplished gold. I mean, the worst thing is to have a case of the sits where you don't 1 or 2 contests in a row, you don't get out the chair, you be just questioning your insanity right then. But getting a walk, getting a trophy, getting your name recognition, it just gives that enticing to keep doing the next one, the next one, the next one.
Oh, absolutely, 100%. A good example of that last year, our first contest of the year last year, we cooked out in Montana, in Absorki, Montana. And it was our first comp of the year, which was kind of later in the year for us. And we kind of threw it all together, weren't really prepared, didn't really have the right mindset to go out there. And we got 2 calls. 2 calls, Shannon? 1 call. 2 calls. We had 2 calls, and nothing wild, like a 9th and an 8th. But we ended up 10th overall, and I was so happy for that 10th place overall. Got to go back up there for a 3rd time. Get your picture taken, get your little ribbon. But it was the best 10th place trophy ever. It was some redemption for us. We'd have a tough spring. As far as we had lost our house in a house fire earlier in the spring, and we just said we're gonna go cook no matter what. We weren't really ready to do it, but like you say, that feeling of being able to get out of your chair and go up there and say, yeah, we can do it, and it was awesome. It was a fantastic 10th place. Like, I was over the moon about it.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the thing about it is even if we don't necessarily get the grand champion, for the personal goals we have and to do different things, sometimes, like you said, just overcoming adversity. If you got that one piece of meat, like right now it's pork, that's just been driving you nuts that you can't seem to get anything on. The next thing you know, you do a contest, you try just something new and you get your name called. Last year it was ribs. This year it's been pork. It's just the roller coaster of meats. It's accomplishment. Even though if everything else falls off, you don't get no calls or nothing else. It's that one piece of meat you're struggling with. You get your name called, and you're like, all right, we're on the right path now. I'm like, wait a minute, what happened to the other 3? Oh, forget those. We'll deal with those next week. We just want to get this one straight this week.
Yes, sir. A little redemption goes a long ways.
I know, man. And it's amazing with this. It's amazing to just the people and everything else. You just want to be like, holy cow, it's crazy. So talking about the team name. So where did Burnt Trees BBQ come from?
I don't know. I mean, it's barbecue. We all burn wood. Wood is from trees, burnt trees. I mean, when we came up with burnt trees, that, we cook on an offset now, and it sounds very fitting, right? Like, because you were throwing splits, and, it's real obvious to tell that them splits are from trees or whatever. But when we came up with burnt trees, we were cooking on pellet smokers. Um, just play on words, nothing super special about it. We've considered changing our name at times. Probably won't now, but we've had some other thoughts come through on team names, but some people call us Red Shoe Barbecue. We always wear our lucky red shoes when we're cooking, and if not when we're cooking, when we go to awards, red tennis shoes that's part of the uniform. Don't show up on a Burnt Trees team without your red shoes on when you're going to awards. So,
or turn-ins. I usually put mine on right before I have to turn in because
yeah.
I'm the box runner, and they're just my go fast shoes. That's what I call them. They're my go fast red turn-in shoes, and they don't come off until awards are done. It's just a quirk, I guess, that we have. We're Red Shoe Barbecue / Burnt Trees. I don't know.
I mean, it's always just a little, I wouldn't say superstition, but it is superstition about little things that we do. It's like, that's where the same shorts. Don't care them things that's been through the ringers. They need to go in the trash can, but I got to have at least the same shorts on every contest I do. And used to be the same shirt, but that finally had to get retired. It was just getting really, it was getting too bad. It was basically standing on itself in the corner, so we had to start changing shirts. But just the superstition we do is crazy.
Oh yeah, absolutely, 100%. I agree. I don't have the same shirt, but Star Wars, I gotta have a Star Wars T-shirt on. I probably have 25 or 30 of them in the trailer. Take your pick. All the old Star Wars stuff, though, none of that new stuff. The original 3. But I always wear Star Wars T-shirts at comps. until it's time to go to awards, and then we put our Burnt Trees shirts on. But yeah, the Star Wars t-shirts and red shoes. So absolutely, got to be a little superstitious.
Oh, I know. I mean, I'm going to wear during the contest the last T-shirt from the last GC I got. So that T-shirt's going to be worn sometime during that weekend. Just whenever whatever contest I got last GC on is going to go into the bag to go to be able to put that shirt on at the contest, because that's kind of it's earned its spot in there. So let's put it on there. Let's go there. And then easily wear a Greenwood T-shirt because it's first KCBS comp we done. It's just little mental stuff like that. But it's fun. We enjoy being part of it and doing this crazy ass hobby.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And it doesn't do anything for you, but it's a comfort zone.
Yeah, it's comfort zone. So we're talking about a little bit before the show here about the travel times for barbecue competitions. I live here on outside Myrtle Beach on the East Coast, so my circle's big half circles, and the Appalachian Mountains. So I basically go up and down the Appalachian Mountains on this side of it, and go around the mountains. Now y'all have a little bit, because everybody assumes it's the center of the country. You got opportunity to go to a bunch of contests, but y'all actually have a similar issue where y'all located at in the center of the country, or northern center of the country. But go ahead.
Absolutely. Go ahead, Jen. Tell them all about that.
Oh, driving. So when we first started, really get into the circuit, of course, there's no contests in the state of North Dakota that are KCBS. So it was either going to South Dakota or Minnesota and Montana. When we first started, it was we agreed upon an 8-hour one-way drive was the max. We're not going more than 8 hours, and that's just one direction. As you can tell, we have branched out because it took us a very long time to get to Osage City. It was about 1,000 miles one way, I believe.
Yeah.
So it was about, on Google Maps, is about 13 and a half hours. And of course, that's without pulling the trailer. So do the math. It adds up very quickly. And we still, still kind of focus on those Montana comps, the South Dakota ones, Minnesota. We go up into Canada, we're 45 minutes from the border to Canada. So we've done some in Regina, a little bit north of Regina, because they're close. I mean, they're within 6 hours. So why not go to those contests? And yes, sure, sometimes it can be a hassle to go across the border, but just make sure all your meats are good, and you're fine to get across the border. They don't like greenery, so you cannot buy your greenery and can't to take that across. You have to actually buy your greens in Canada. But yeah, we haven't really limited ourselves to travel time, especially because last year, we were fortunate to be able to go to the Royal and to the Jack, and the Jack is it's very long ways down to Lynchburg, Tennessee, from Minot, North Dakota. It would probably blow people's minds that we do it, but we love it. Not just the competitive streak and the winning or the not winning, but the friendships and I would say family that we've met along the barbecue trails is nothing short of amazing. Even last weekend, we made some great new friends just across the street, I guess you could say, from us. And our family just continues to grow. And I think that's what I like the most about the sport. Not just the winning is, of course, what everybody strives for. But as Nick mentioned earlier, we lost our house to a fire last March. And the amount of people in the barbecue world that came out to support us, whether it was a monetary donation or, hey, I'm going to send you some spices, or if you come to our contest, we'll help you out with the registration, or, hey, I'm going to get you some meat if you come here. It was nothing short of amazing. I'll be honest. It was very heartwarming, and helped kind of solidify the fact that we're lifers. Barbecue is our life. And someday when we can retire from our full-time jobs, we could travel a little bit more. I think the goal is to ultimately have another rig parked in the South somewhere so that we can easily travel. or two. He wants one in really every region of the United States, but that's a little bit much. But then we can, travel a little bit more and do some of those contests, because the support that came out that from people we've never heard of is nothing that I can't even explain it. It was so amazing. And that's why I will travel to support comps with whatever means I can to get there to support them. Because like we've said earlier, some of these comps, they're raising money for great causes. And if I can do my part by just showing up and, maybe winning a meet or two or all of it, and supporting their cause, I'm all for that. All about community and supporting local organizations.
I think that's something that I think a lot of times us as competitors, because we see it from our side of the fence, we're involved with this from competition barbecue. We want to win. We want to come out of a new contest, and we spend money out of pocket and do it. So I 100% understand where everybody's coming from. But I think a lot of times that as competitors, we miss the overall goal for these things is to raise money for causes. I think that's a lot of times we forget that part, that for a organization to have a contest, this is a lot of expense, either through monetary expense. It's a lot of time donation from volunteers and organizers to put on the contest. It takes a lot for somebody to do something other. At the end of the day, that person's not getting a return on their investment. They're giving it to a charity, or they're getting it back out for prize money, whatever else it is. And it takes a lot of work for that. And I think we take that for granted a lot of times.
Oh, absolutely, 100%. I think that's why it's really important. A lot of comps you go to, they have the people's choice, whether it's on the comp day or the day before. We go to quite a few different contests where um, they'll have the people's choice category, I guess, and it's meat provided. They give you a couple pork butts and say, "Hey, can you cook these up and serve them to the public at you know 2 o'clock after the comp, in between the end of your comp and waiting on awards." We do several contests where that's the kind of the setup, and everybody says, "Oh, I don't want to cook another 2 pork butts or whatever it is." We just take those 2 pork butts, we put them in the freezer, and then you got your leftover whole pork that's already froze. You just thaw that out. It's already been cooked. You warm it up on that smoker, little kiss of smoke on there. You're good to go, and you didn't have to go through all the work of cooking another pork butt, for 5, 6, 7 hours. It's already done. And and we just cycle it. We just trade it, and it works good. You get good meat with not very much work, and you're supporting your organizer, and the public is happy, and you create that relationship with people. You know, I know the big knock
Absolutely.
right now with everybody is, you know, us cooks, we're all in our trailers, and the public doesn't get to see you, and because you're hiding in your trailer and whatever. Well, I got a big trailer too. I do. Um, and I can absolutely hide in my trailer. I can close the doors and cook in my trailer, and you'd never see me. But I don't do that. I have it open. I give more tours of our trailer. People walking by, wow, what's that? That's unique. Whatever. You really cooking in there? Yes, sir, we are. And we give them a whole tour, and that if that's what sparks the interest in somebody to say, wow, I want to do that. And even if it doesn't, even if it's just like, oh, hey, I remember you guys from last year, and you gave me the tour and whatever else. And if you're trying to win a People's Choice Award, what's it hurt to show them your smoker, and they're going to give you the chip, right? That said, oh yeah, that's the best pulled pork I ever had. Well, it probably wasn't, but you developed a little bit of relationship with them, and maybe you go win the $50 on the People's Choice or whatever the prize money is.
Oh, yeah.
But you get people interested in it, and I love to talk to people about barbecue. I mean, I love it. Shannon, in fact, on on cook days, a lot of times she's got to steer me straight, be like, we're doing this over here. Like, stop talking to these people over here. Stay
Oh
focused.
man, it's crazy. Just talk. I love talking to people also, but I've almost had to set my alarm off my phones or whatever else. So when it goes on, it can almost be like in the middle of conversation. I'll be like, I'll be back in a few minutes. Because if you miss your goals, your timelines, or whatever else, it can create all kind of drama. So yeah, we've having to stay on top of the timeline, but still want to introduce people and talk to people and get people into this hobby, sport, addiction. Definitely do it. But talking about people's choice, doing what you're doing is absolutely the truth. And I think everybody can take their, if they don't have leftovers, do the trimmings they have at home and cook them up on the smoker at home and vacuum seal them bags. And if you don't want to put them on your smoker, go buy a sous vide. Just get you one of those sous vide pieces. We've got 2 of them right here in a bucket, and turn that thing on and let it cook that meat hot and turn it in people's choice. It tastes just, if you vacuum seal it, it tastes just like it come out of the smoker. I mean,
sir.
we do it all the time. So I mean, but I will say this: if you do that at home and you vacuum seal it, leave enough extra on both sides and double or triple seal it on the vacuum seals. Make sure you do that. That is very big key to that sous vide. Double, triple seal that thing, because those have failed in the past. Now, if you get pre-manufactured bags, it's not that way, but some of them, they can be an issue with that. So talking about this past weekend, your Facebook post here, you said you had a bunch of first. So kind of tell us about what made you go to this contest and kind of what was going on, and we'll talk to you about the contest.
There you go, Shannon. You made the post.
I did make the post. I'm trying to think what I put for first. So, of course, it was our first visit down to Osage City. Our first attempt to go to that contest was last year. Even after, our fire, we're like, we're still going. We're going to this contest. But, if you've never been to North Dakota, winter sometimes comes very early and stays really late. And it was the first weekend of April, and Mother Nature said, nope, you guys aren't leaving. And we had a huge blizzard and could not leave the state of North Dakota. I mean, every interstate, every highway was shut down, to the point where Nick had even looked at, do I have to go up into Canada and come back down and go circle back down to Kansas? But we're not that extreme quite yet. So that was our first visit there, and we were looking forward to it. We've heard nothing but good things about the contest. Corey and his team of volunteers are spoken very highly of, and you hear it just kind of in posts and comments across the barbecue social media, if you will. So when we were talking about it this year, I'm like, hey, let's try it. The weather, knock on wood, when we were talking about it, has been pretty fair in North Dakota this winter, not a whole lot of snow. So I'm like, let's just do it. Let's sign up. It's going to be fine. We're good to go. So we hit the road, and we kept saying, what? We looked at each other a couple times because, we have to talk to each other for 13 hours or so. And we're like, let's just go win it. Let's go win it. And I guess one of my first that I did not put on the Facebook post is I do a lot of the prep work. I get the seasoning organized, the sauces. That's kind of what I do. Again, my OCD, I gotta know where everything's at, make sure it's in order, make sure I don't forget anything. And when I was doing that this last week, I had messaged Nick. I said, you know what? How would you feel if we shook up a couple of things? What's your thoughts on that? So I kind of shared some ideas with him, and we went back and forth, and he's like, I don't know. And I'm like, let's just try it. What's the hurt? What's the harm? Right. And I don't know that he was 100% sold. Even when we got there, I don't think he was ready he's like, okay. I said, I will take full ownership if it fails on us. And we still had everything else. So if he didn't like it in the very last minute, we could have just went back in and used our regular program. So that was a first for me, saying, hey, let's shake it up. And we did.
What's he talking about? She changed all our sauce. She changed sauce across the board.
Yep, I sure did. And it worked out very well.
All of the sauces across the board?
Except for brisket.
Yeah, brisket we left alone, but everything else.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sure
chicken,
did.
ribs, and pork. She changed the sauce. Her and Richard Parker from IBQing. Yeah, they thought that would be pretty fun.
Yeah.
You know,
I just got a joke and I said, what do you think Nick will say if I change all this stuff? And he's like, that would be kind of funny. And we use a lot of the T9 products. So of course he was on board for me to shake things up. But that was a first for me. And then, you know, there was no stress. I don't know what it was about this contest. And we have a pretty good program. Like we got it down to kind of a science, like you said, where you have timers. We've got that all documented. It's all on his phone, everything like that. So we don't miss things because, like you said, one little error and you're gonna throw off your whole program. But there was no stress. Like at one point, I'm like, I feel like we're forgetting something. I think I said that a couple times throughout the cook. I'm like, man, did we forget a step? Did we forget to do something? And even after we were done, we're just cleaning up, making sure everything's ready so that we can leave after awards. And sitting there, you know, we got our first chicken call, which is great. Chicken kind of failed us at the jack, so it was kind of nice to have it come back around to 5th place. And then we got the rib call. I'm like, okay, this was a good weekend, you know, and we're still thinking, all right, good weekend. We got 2 calls, great. And then when you get a pork call, and for anybody that's a cook, you don't know, it's pork. Like it could have been 19th, like we got, or it could have been 97th. I have no idea. It's pork. So then we're like, well, shoot, that didn't work out in our favor. And then we got a brisket call. And we're sitting around a lot of our barbecue friends, you know, Levi from Colorado Bulldog. He was encouraging while we were sitting there. He was like, I don't know, man, we didn't get a pork call. That could have changed the whole game, right? And then they start calling the top 20. And I don't really know at what point Nick started to realize that, oh, maybe we did all right, you know, because they got to top 10 or they did the top 20. And then once they got into the top 10, I'm like, man, we still haven't heard our name. And we had 3 calls. This is kind of, God, we must have really failed at pork. Like, that's what we kept thinking. We're like, oh, man, we really dropped the ball on pork. And then I got a little closer and a little closer. And everybody around us is like, oh, you got it. I'm like, I don't know. Still, again, one meat. You don't know. And then they called our names. And I think, yes, winning was exciting. But I think when they told us that we got over a 700 score, we've never done that before. And when they're like, it's 706, I look at Nick and I was like, huh, you know, just kind of like, I think it's still kind of setting in and resonating that, oh, we did do it. And we know that we're good cooks. I think every barbecue cook knows that they're good. And sometimes it's luck. You don't know, like you cook your cook and then you leave it at the table of 6 judges for them to decide your fate. And once it leaves your trailer, it's out of your hands at that point.
Yeah. But you know, when we boxed it and sent it, chicken, ribs, and pork, none of that really blew us away. It wasn't like, oh man, that's best ever or anything like that. But it was good, and we knew it was good. Brisket, we had that good meat in, you know, that one category, and we thought our brisket was really right on and real good. So we were real confident on brisket. Everything else was just like, you know, good day or whatever. But I tried it all. Oh, I tried my chicken after she walked the rib box. It was still good. And I just had it sitting on the counter. I tried the ribs after she walked the pork box. Sitting on the counter, cooled off. It was still good. I didn't try the pork. I don't like pulled pork. I don't really care to eat it. I figured the pork was the pork and going to get what you got. Then I tried the brisket, you know, 15, 20 minutes after we turned in the box. And it was so fantastic. It was cold, but it was good. And I think, you know, I'm not saying that, oh, we walked out of the trailer knowing we're going to win a contest, because there's no way.
No.
But when we heard our name called in chicken, we were like, all right, this trip was worth it. And that's really that just that one call. You know, we talk about getting calls and getting up in front of, you know, everybody and whatnot. And nobody knows us. Because we're pretty isolated, you know. But and yeah, we knew a few teams there, but we're from Minot, North Dakota, and cooking against a bunch of teams that you know, right in the heart of America, there where we don't cook or not very often, at least. And so to hear your name called among all the other names that we see watching when we're watching these Facebook Live videos on awards and whatnot, there's a lot of these guys are here every weekend, and it was cool to be able to have our name called in there. And like Shannon said, to get your name called 3 times, just amazing. Even all the way up until when they called us first place, I wouldn't have believed that we GC that contest. No way. It was surreal when they called our name. Like, you know, we talked to each other on the way down, like, yeah, we're gonna go win this contest. But everybody does that, you know. That's why you sign up. You don't sign up for 10th place. You sign up because you know we're gonna go win. In reality, you end up 23rd. You say, "Oh, it's a good weekend. I got my 7th place port call and rock on." You know, I mean, that's what we all do. And every once in a while, you squeak one out. And I'll tell you what, this weekend just goes to show that you can cook a simple program, not even have food that really blows you away, and you know, hit the right tables. And
I
it can
think
happen.
for the not to interrupt you here, but I think from the backyard guys or the people who are watching this is not doing competition barbecue. Um, one thing is that we focus on competition barbecue flavors and stuff. We're talking about that nonchalantly right here, but the parts of this here that we really focus on is going to be tenderness.
Oh,
Uh,
absolutely.
so we're talking about flavors right now, and we're kind of saying flavors as far as nonchalantly, not while you away or whatever else. But what we're not talking about is the tenderness. So on that perspective over here, talk about your cook from a tenderness perspective. I know you say a flavor profile, but from a tenderness perspective, what was your thoughts on the tenderness of the cook?
Honestly, I thought my chicken probably could have been a little more tender. Good bite through skin. We cook thighs.
Yep.
Good bite through skin. Had moisture, but was maybe a little on the chewy side. Uh, you know, it didn't temp real super high. A lot of times we temp our chicken out, you know, over 200, and we were just right about 198 on temperature on chicken. And sometimes that can bite you. You know, that just leads to not that you can't bite through the chicken and eat the chicken, but there's a tenderness in there where you hit a certain point, and it's just an easier chew, a nicer mouth feel. You don't have to work as hard to eat it, and that's really what we're shooting for those judges. Um, Tenderness on ribs was good, maybe even a little bit over, um, but I'd rather be over than under on ribs for sure because they're going to tighten up sitting in
Exactly.
the box. So, but yeah, I mean, tenderness is right on. You know, we we are a team. We cook pork collars as far as the pork goes, but we separate money muscle when it's done, and what's left of that pork collar we put back on to cook them tubes for pulled, and because those, you know, you talk about tenderness, your money muscle will get done, and those tubes that are buried in underneath there will not. I mean, they're cooked. You could eat them, but they're not going to be nice to eat. Um, so you got to take them to a higher temperature because when that money muscle's temping out at 204, 208, whatever your magic spot is, you know, you run a probe inside there where those tubes are, and man, you'll be 10 degrees cooler. And so we cut money muscle off, we wrap that up, put it in the camera, we put those butts back on and let them keep going to get it up to the right temperature so we get the tenderness. Because tenderness beats flavor all day
every
long.
day of the week.
You can have the most boring tasting barbecue in the world, but if it bites good and it feels good in your mouth, it's gonna that flavor score will go up. The taste score will go up based on how
Yeah, I mean,
tender your barbecue is.
and so that's what we were saying earlier when we're talking about this stuff here. And even with tenderness game, I mean, we're talking about from the difference between a 202 chicken thigh to a 206 chicken thigh or 204 chicken thigh. I mean, it's a little bit. So the only thing I really look at chicken, the only piece of meat that I really go by temperature when I'm feeling doneness is just chicken thigh, because the fact is that if anybody can tell me how to probe a chicken tender, I would pay them money to teach me that class, because yet have figured that one out. You pretty much you have to go by temperature on that one. It's just the texture of the meat. But with ribs and everything else, you kind of got to go over a little bit if you're in an area like you are up there in Kansas, cold time of year, because you know it's going to be judged 10, 15 minutes later, so I'm tighten up a little bit. If it's Greenwood, South Carolina, and it's 110 degrees out here, which is an awesome contest, by the way. I'm not giving a hard time about that. I'm being a little bit facetious with the temperature, but if it's hot outside, it's not going to cool down. It's not going to tighten up as much. So you got to take that in mindset of what the environment is for the cook, for the meat is. But always talking about with pork. So I got a question for you on your pork. When you separate the money from the tubes and the pork collars, what are you doing to ensure that money muscle is staying tender and not itself cooling off to the point that it'll destroy the texture of that money muscle?
Okay, couple things that we do. When I
If you don't mind
separate,
me asking. If you don't
no,
mind me
no,
asking.
no, and I'm
No
happy to
secret.
share it. So I'll separate my money muscle, and we wrap that in foil with butter and sauce, right? And we wrap it up tight, each one individually. Now we only cook three. We only cook three pork collars. You know, I know, you know, when we went to the small pork from what we used to all cook, you know, guys went to four and maybe five or whatever on pork, so they have more choices. And maybe I should do that too. But I cook three. I wrap them up individually, and I mean half a stick of butter, bury it in sauce, wrap it up tight. Okay, and we put it in the camera, but we preheat our camera, and we use a pizza stone, and we set the pizza stone on our firebox and get it just rocket hot. And then about the time it's going to be time for pulling, you know, big meats and whatnot, and getting them in the Cambro, about 15, 20 minutes before that, I'll pull that pizza stone off the firebox and put it in the Cambro. So our Cambro is very hot before we ever even put any meat in it. And I don't have a problem with, you know, that money muscle is a smaller piece of meat when you pull it off there, and and you know it'll cool off and tighten up and whatever else. And I really haven't had that problem. I put that pizza stone in there. I set those monies right on top of that pizza stone, and then I'll take a half pan and throw it upside down on top of that, and it'll hold the heat. And you know I can leave them there for 3 hours, and they'll be hot when I unwrap them again and slice them and get them in the box. So
I warm up my Cambro with a little pot of boiling water. I plug it in before I put anything else in there and get it boiling hot. And I would put that in my Cambro and just let it get to whatever temperature it is, but just get hot, hot, hot.
yep,
But the problem is when I take the thing out, it cools down really fast, especially earlier in the year when it's cold outside. Summertime, it doesn't really have that effect, but in the wintertime right now, that Cambro of mine will cool down. So the pizza stones is a great idea because it's a radiant heat. It will continue on for a long period of time.
yep. And you can leave it in there the whole time.
Yeah. I mean, it's
Absolutely.
a
You
great
never have to
idea.
take it out. You never got to take it out until until you're cleaning out the camera at the end of the day. And actually, ours rides up and down the road in the camera, that pizza stone. Your Pampered Chef pizza stone will fit the
Yeah, the
rectangular
rectangular one.
Uh,
From
Yep.
Pampered Chef, it's like $45 or something,
Yeah.
and I don't use it for anything other than heating up the camera. That's all I use it for.
But some guys have, and I know this for a fact, take them same pizza stones when they're doing pork, they put it on the cutting board and use
Yes,
it
sir.
to keep their pork boxes to keep the pork warm while it's going on the cutting board. Because pork, I don't care how hot it is, by the time you get through prepping on that cutting board, it's going to be cold. And for
Yep.
me, I mean, somebody else has got a trick to it I don't know about. But that's the one piece of meat that cools down faster than anything else is pork.
Well, and I think it's because especially, I mean, in reality, your slices for your money muscle pretty small.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, and it seems like money muscles are getting bigger and bigger from what they were even just a few years ago, or we're including more muscles than just the true money muscle. But we're getting them cooked tender and whatnot.
Yeah.
But when you slice it like that, you create a lot of surface area, and obviously it can cool off. We put money muscle and we put pull uh, in the box. We don't do chunks. We used to, not any longer. But when you're doing them pulls and you're shredding some of them tubes and whatnot, even if you're just leaving your tubes whole, that's a lot of surface area out there in the air. So, like like you said, keep it as hot as you can. Um, One thing is we always dunk all our pork in an au jus sauce mixture, and that stuff is rocket hot. Like we are pulling meat, and that will be sitting on the smoker getting hot. And then
Yep.
when it's like, okay, we've got this money and this pull, and we're gonna dunk everything, and we'll pull that au jus slash sauce off the smoker, set it on the table, pull the cover off, and put everything in there and let it soak for a few minutes. And so it heats it all back up or finishes it off, whatever, helps create some moisture, get some flavor, and it comes out of that au jus. And I usually just set them on the board. My poles, I don't even set back on the board. I pull it right out of the au jus, let it drip off real good, and bring it right over and set it in the box. I kind of got a little mound in there,
Yep.
and I just grab it, set it, a little haystack of pulled pork, and then my money's
For people at home, though, piece of advice on this: when you go to do this, change the outer glove you have so that if you have a glove with a pinhole in it, you put your hands in that hot as you don't start dancing around. Before you do that, add a second glove or change your gloves, because I promise you, you'll only do it one time in your life before you don't do it no more.
yeah, yeah. Um, and something else, if you see a lot of cooks wearing the cotton gloves, and they got your nitro gloves over that. Um, if your hands are real sweaty with them cotton gloves on, and you get them too hot too long, you can't get away from that steam, and you can't get the gloves off fast enough. So be careful. Yeah, those cotton gloves, those liner gloves, they'll protect you from some heat. But if that heat gets too extreme, you can cook your own hands right inside the gloves. Absolutely. So watch out for that if you're new to it. And to all my barbecue friends out there, you may laugh at that, but you've all done it. So
You said that. I hadn't ever thought about it, but I reckon that's why I go through about 4 sets of them gloves at a contest.
oh yeah,
Because because I'll take one once I feel like it's getting hot or it's getting damp or whatever else from sweating. I'll kind of throw it to the side of yonder, and I've got where a dirty dishes thing is, and we'll wash them when we get home. But yeah, because I'll go through 4 sets of the contest.
oh yeah, absolutely. Because
Just
you steam your hands right in there, and it's just sweat. I mean, it's
Oh,
gross
yeah.
to think about, but it'll cook you. You'll be dancing around and people looking at you like you've lost your mind.
Or I get pinholes.
Yeah.
Man, them pinholes.
I-
Especially with me with a pizza rack on the chicken, it always burrs one
Oh,
of them.
yeah.
The pizza rack would burr my gloves in a heartbeat.
Yep.
So where y'all cooking at next?
Well, the next thing we got coming up is actually not a comp. We're going to be in Eagle Bend, Minnesota, and we're cooking an event called Hometown Heroes Outdoors. It's an event put on and organized with Hometown Heroes Outdoors and our good friend Borgie the Barbecue Butcher, Steve, and we go cook for veterans. It's for military veterans, EMS members, firefighters, police, sheriff's department, fire patrol, and they usually bring in about 40 guests a year. And there's several KCBS teams that show up for this. There's several SCA state cooking teams that show up, and then just some backyard guys that come together and put together this event. And we basically do a comp cook show 'em. We have live demonstrations. Last few years, I've done a demonstration on this is how you trim a brisket, and a backyard trim. We show them what that looks like. And then we'll take it beyond that and separate point and flat, show them what a competition trim looks like. There's chicken demonstrations by one team. Scott Shear and Dougie, they do a rib demonstration on how to trim up a nice set of spare ribs, trim them down to a St. Louis style, 10 bone or an 8 bone, whatever you want to do. They probably show about a 10 bone, for folks that are going to cook at home. But how to make your ribs look good, even if you're cooking at home. Because if your food looks good, you're going to enjoy it more and you can take more pride in it. And I'm not saying that all my food always looks the greatest, but it looks good and people are you're trying to show off for your friends. It might taste a little better because it looks a little better. So, but it's a great event that we do. And then the next comp after that is a week later, Shannon. Minnesota
Yes.
in May. Minnesota in May in St. Peters, Minnesota. Big comp for Minnesota. That comp usually is about 60, 70 teams right in that area. And so that'll be our next competition. And that's, I believe, the first weekend of May, second week.
Yeah.
The
May
11th.
11th, I think. Yeah.
So,
well, our plan is to get in that part of the country and cook some contests here in a few years, the next couple of years, because beautiful part of the country. I've been there hunting several times, and I just want to kind of go there and see it green. I've never seen that part of the country green. I've always seen it in the hunting season and in the wintertime and the fall and stuff. I've never seen it green. I want to see that part of the country green one time. I think
you
it'll
better
be
come in
crazy.
spring.
Yeah, in springtime. But hey, when he talking about trimming the ribs, make them look good, take your trimmings you got, put them on a Blackstone, and make some tacos. It's absolutely delicious.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it means you ain't gonna waste nothing. So everybody, when we do this, even with YouTube videos talk about it all the time, we're not wasting stuff. We're just doing it for that piece of meat to make it look better for presentation side. But I'll take the rest of it and make sausage. I mean, I got it right now. Pull out freezer because I need freezer space. And I've got 4 of them restaurant totes jammed full of trimmings from briskets and pork and ribs that I'm gonna be making sausage and ground Wagyu hamburger meat and all kind of stuff. So that's my weekend this weekend. If you need some hamburger meat, give me a call. I'll probably have some you can get.
We like to use our A9 trimmings for chili. We don't make regular people chili apparently, so we put A9 Wagyu brisket in our chili, and it's great. So use your trimmings wisely. Don't waste it.
And leftovers and omelets is unreal. Wagyu omelets is the bomb. I mean, and if you're not in competition barbecue, you don't understand how what I'm saying by that. It sounds absolutely insane when I say that to people that's not in competition barbecue. But people in competition barbecue understand how much we have left over.
Oh,
And so taking it and making an omelet out of some Wagyu trimmings is absolutely phenomenal.
yeah. There's lots of leftovers in comp barbecue. You take an 18-pound brisket and carve it down into a little 5-pound flat. Trust me, you got some leftovers.
Yeah. And turn it in 7 slices. Yeah, you got leftovers.
Yes, sir.
Uh,
Yes, sir.
Definitely do it. Well, y'all got anybody y'all want to kind of give kudos to, shout out to? Some of those
I mean,
supply places.
yeah, Nick mentioned when we first started talking that we compete with our good friends Marty and Tanya Owens. They live, 25 minutes from us, and they do have their own little barbecue shop. It's owensbbq.com, and they're a godsend for us because we're so close. And there's times where I'm prepping. I'm like, man, I really could use some seasoning. And she'll just meet me in town. She's like, hey, I'm coming to town. I'll drop it off. But aside from her just being able to drop it off at me, their shipping is fantastic when I really need it shipped somewhere. And of course, we order a lot from the Barbecue Superstore in Michigan because, like I mentioned before, we use a lot of their T9 products. So those two are probably our most frequented supply stores that we order from, and they're just good friends that we've just become very close with over the years on the barbecue trail, if you will.
Richard used to have on there on the Barbecue Superstore stuff when I first started competition barbecue. He'd have a list of his hottest selling rubs, and so it would be on there, and on his website he had lists like the most selling rubs. I remember going through there and just buying that rub to try it on something other than seeing why people were buying it, see if it would something I'm missing in competition barbecue. For a long time, he had that, and I would go there probably once a month and buy whatever the hottest rub was just to try it out. So if Richard, you watching this, you might want to start that back over. That was kind of pretty cool thing you done.
Well, if he's not watching, I'm going to call him after this, and I'll let him know. I talk to him almost every day. So.
But tell him I said, hey,
You bet.
he's a great gentleman. Truly is an amazing person.
Yeah, he's
absolutely.
good. We're good buddies. I just went out to that contest in Lebanon's Smoke on Shores. I cooked that with him out there. And,
are you with him out there?
Yeah, yes, sir.
In Lebanon, Tennessee?
Yeah.
Well, I was there. I didn't see you. My bad. I didn't see Richard either.
Yeah, we were there. We're about let's see, how close was it, Richard? 18 seconds from the walk-in door or the turn-in door. We had to be last box turned in each time. That's a Richard Parker thing. So you've got to be the last guy turned in, and people were freaking out when I was walking boxes for him. Run! And I'm like, no, I got time. It's only 18 seconds away.
Well, I was right at 3 minutes walk, so we were way down there. They put us in the poor people part of the country, I reckon. But, dude, we got killed down there. But that's different conversation for a different day. It ain't Judge's fault. Yeah.
We did all right. Or Richard did. He no-called 4th place out there. That's pretty awesome.
He what now? Oh, no call 4th place?
No top 10 calls, 4th place overall.
It's a good day.
Can't argue that, but you're talking about there was a bunch of teams out there. The best thing about this stuff is,
teams?
Yeah, I mean, it was a lot of teams out there. You don't get your name called, and you're like, all right, well, maybe I'm still in the running.
Yeah.
But then you done like we did, and they were just like, it's probably the worst finishing contest I've done in 6-7 years. It's not the contest's fault. I mean, I freely admit that. Our hope, we thought we just tasted everything. It just tasted off. Texture was just wicked contest, and then everything else I had going on. I was like, yeah, I'll just count that one to a learning. But I'll be back there next year for the trophies. So they got awesome trophies. So I will be back there next year to do it
Yeah,
and really
Jason
do
puts
something
on
different.
a great contest.
Oh,
Yeah.
Jason Cole and the boys do an awesome contest. Love them to death. And I would chase a trophy. I would chase a trophy all over the place.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Somebody needs to go have a cool trophy in the Bahamas, and I will make sure we make it happen down there.
There you go.
Definitely chasing the trophy.
Mhm.
But yeah, just tell Richard I said hey and appreciate that. So give a shout out to the sponsor of the show. Again, the show is sponsored by EliteBBQ. Excuse me. The show is sponsored by Snake River Farms. If you want to get a brisket, go by there, check it out. EliteBBQ10, you get 10% off all briskets on there. Also check out Royal Oak Charcoal. We're part of their family this year. Heath Riles Barbecue, Spring Mountain Farms for the chicken, Land of Barbecue Store, another great place. Awesome family. Brian and them is doing an amazing job. I love what they're doing. Good people, and all the barbecue stores are great people, and they're good people with that. And also with pellet smokers, check out Rectex, and they use it today. And I'll say this: if you want a stick burner out there, go look at Outlaw Smokers. And I'm not sponsored by them, and I'm just telling you right now, the quality of products they have right now is absolutely insane for stick burners. And if you're going to go that route, you're going to be really, truly giving yourself a disservice to not check out Outlaw Smokers. And same thing with Rectex smokers, pellet smokers. You want to get a pellet smokers, check out Rectex. The way they're built is something that you really will be impressed with when you try them out. I promise you, I've got several of them. I got way more than I should have, and do that. And lastly, if you want to come do it here in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, Conway, right outside of town, we got a barbecue class. It's an introduction barbecue. It's not a tell-all class. We'll have a lot of fun. So you have Myrtle Beach vacation, come there and hang out, come to the beach, come do a class, and just have a good time. With all that being stated, you have anything else to add to it?
No, it was great. Great conversation.
Oh,
Thanks for having
thanks
us
for
on.
having us. Yeah.
Hey, and all their information is in the show notes. You can follow them on Facebook, Instagram. You can see all of us on there. Elite Barbecue Smokers, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. Make sure y'all subscribe, like our channel, and share this with all your friends and family. See you next week. Elite Barbecue Smokers, Barbecue Roundtable. Say bye.
Goodbye.
Bye.